Greetings, my loves. It's T-Trail, Nature's TV. I'm your host, T-Red Sinclair, and on today's episode of T-Trail, Nature's TV, we're going to be moving on from our last video, which was looking at my twin flame journey and the recovery process, the Palladian recovery process. So I suppose moving on from my last video, which for me felt like a milestone, hey, to express and be fully emotional on a video was it was a first. So I'd like to share more details with you regarding what I believe to be my awakening process, and I have come to appreciate that it's called the recovery process. So in my twin flame journey, hey, what a ride! What a ride, and just what a beautiful reflection my twin flame is. Molly Robertson, I love you so much. So, gratitude, always a good place to start. I am so grateful for all of my cosmic help, my star family. And I suppose there are a few things that I touch on in this video. And a good one of those, I'd imagine, is the generation game. So, my sins are replayed, or something along those lines, for 7 generations, my father's sins, which is a DNA thing, maybe. That's what my hunch is. So that which haunted our parents over 7 generations would then get passed down to their offspring, me. It's a great song in there somewhere from Offspring. So even though we might be aware of the triggers that we carry and the darkness which we need to look at, shine a little light on, and feel it. And that's pretty much it. Just feel your emotions and choose to release them and express them. So alongside our own closet of darkness, we also carry karmic backlog, for want of a better word, from our parents and their parents. So as I've come to appreciate, the recovery process is a way of doing some pretty hands-on shadow work, which I'm really grateful for. But we're at a juncture in our time and space where we're learning that cells actively listen. So when we ridicule someone else, when we put down someone else, we are effectively ridiculing and poking shitty sticks at ourselves in our newfound unity, which was always known, but it was just pushed under the rug a little bit by some sneaky, well, I say that, hey, they carried a lot of shame with them, and I should imagine if they weren't so riddled with shame, they might have made some different choices. But still, that's all behind us, and my hand is at the plough, so onwards. So the generation thing, 1970, team of crack commandos by the name of the A-Team. It was round and about there. But 1969 with the Vietnam War, and I guess there was just loads of commotion going on. And there was a massive civil uprising where people kind of said, no more, we're not having it. Those who were in power, or at least gave the impression of being in power. So in 1969, with the amount of willingness to want to see change in the world, lots of groups were born. And I believe it was around 1973, 1974, like I mentioned, with who was Timothy Leary? I mean, who gave him the knowledge to invent LSD? Good question, right? So with the rise of computers and drugs, I guess it would always be worth mentioning that we've known about free energy, at least a story would suggest, for over 100 years now. And whether that came to us via alien life forms, also known as the other beings on this planet in a humanly body, or whether that was the work of Nikola Tesla. So the technology that we have presently as consumers is pretty, what would you say, almost Stone Age compared to that which is available. So the Germans apparently had UFO technology in World War II. And like we've known about free energy for over 100 years, so there are technologies out there which, all being well, I'll mention again, that are far beyond that of the public's imagination. So we're moving into artificial intelligence and bits and bobs like that, which I had never questioned until my recovery process. So the generation thing, and back to the 1970s, the start of the 70s, the amount of groups that were formed to will and action positive change in our world was fast. Okay? It was fast. So because that generation, my mum and dad's generation, Molly's mum and dad's generation, so wanted to see change, they started a civil movement from a place of hurt, from a place of wanting to do good, but the energy coming from a place of not peace, of waging against, of opposing, which, you know, in the dualistic world, especially the one we've come through, good God, man, you'd want to wage against those people that you would perceive as to be doing copious amounts of harm, which, it's an amazing journey, hey? It's an amazing journey. Life is fully intelligent, and we are it. So I think the one that I really love is my mum and dad's generation and Molly's generation. Mum and dad, they were very much the first generation to birth a feeling and desire of freedom and wanting to live as we had for so long, okay, on the land, in small communities, doing what we do and loving life. So from that egg, if you imagine that in my parents, every generation from there on in, the energy that is our parents is then passed on to their offspring. So this egg has gradually been growing inside of lots of us, hey? So I might get this wrong, but there are the indigos, the crystals, and then the rainbows. So each generation as an energy contains more pure love, which is acceptance of all that is, all that will be, and all that was. And the children these days, you can see it, man. So like for me, looking after a scout group and just hearing stories and being around my twins, you can tell children are in a place that if someone tells them to sit down and shut up without good reason, they'll tell them to fuck off, right? Because that's not love. That's not what they came here to experience. So we're kind of in this big squeeze at the moment. And I like that as a term, the big squeeze. So more and more children know what it is to love as God would love. Compassion, forgiveness, and indeed love. And more adults, those who experienced the love revolution in the late 60s, early 70s, are remembering through the squeeze, hey, through my generation, Molly's generation. I'd say I'm the MTV generation. And then I guess kind of like post 80s is when they said it was the millennials. Just labels, hey, just label. And now the snowflakes, man. And ain't there an avalanche coming? Oh man. So anyway, the energy has been increased generation on generation. I think that shadow work was something which was big in the 70s, 80s. And I also think that was quite big because of the amount of people who would have worked in psychiatric wards, in psychology. And as more and more people recognised that the model that they'd been brought up with is just complete baloney, they looked then for areas to work in which they were qualified, but outside of the pyramid of science that we were brought up with. So there's this huge movement towards shadow work, which I fully appreciate. As I said, it was hard as a male psyche to access my old memories, but thankfully the recovery process helped me out with that. So the recovery process, as it was, it starts with destabilizing your family and those around you, and then we get to make friends with our star family, which, having come out of a period of isolation, which we all go through, I believe, on our spiritual journey, to come out of that longingness to find friends and people you could believe and trust in, and then to have that taken away from you. Yeah, that's some painful action. So outside of destabilizing your family and your surroundings and then making friends with you, they would then, and this is all via what was termed psychic communication, but it's done with nanobot technology. There's a transponder in your ear which can be flown in these days, I believe. So then a situation was created that I needed rescuing from, and that involved a get-up called the Angel Academy, which I don't think it was called the Angel Academy to begin with. So there was just the amount of noise that's been going on in my head is just fucking crippling, man. Which we'll get to. So then they create a situation that you need rescuing from to help encourage the feeling of belonging, I'd imagine. So the recovery process entails, it's been amazing, in fairness, as an experience. Just I have some amazing memories. And whether they do or whether they don't, I had all sorts of incredible people from my experience. So Shivam from Spirit Horse, Sensei Chris Mooney from Aikido, Colin from Cornerstone. All of these characters would be brought in, I suppose, to give you the sense that they were part of either the Angel Academy or the Palladian group of brothers and sisters, of which I belong to. Oh man. all sorts of missions. So the first one was that I really remember was breaking and entering into a steel container, shipping container, which I loved, right? Having this psychic communication kind of instructing you as how to move and when to move. I just thought I'd arrived in this most amazing place. So I'm not sure when Molly came in at this point, but then it was a case of me going and meeting Molly in various locations around my village, which didn't transpire. Just amazing, hey? So then outside of the missions and doing various bits and bobs, I had Kundalini experiences, like quite a few. So apparently the first few Kundalini experiences, and this is a nanobot technology thing, various attributes of our physiological makeup can be controlled via this nanobot technology. So what I thought I was having was a Kundalini awakening experience, but it was actually a program to make me feel like, progress is being made. I'm really loved with my team. I can trust them. So I suppose it's that giving enough to keep them wanting more, and then using my beloved Molly as a stick, really, a carrot. I don't believe Molly wanted to go through with half of what she has done. Had various higher selves, which were all programs. There's one night I remember where it was Andreas from the Alps, who I met in the Alps. Pharrell Williams, Pete Rippington, local legend for me. Paul Bennett dropped in. I think Sensei was there. Molly was there. So this was all, it's just an amazing statement, hey? So how powerful is the mind? It's all mind. It's all the mind of God. When we say praise the Lord, that refers to it all being divine and all held within the mind of God. So I suppose recently, various higher selves, various Kundalini activations, I've been reminded that something I was aware of when I was in Ibiza was that my beingness has the potential to, what would we say, help heal beings. By way that I'm very attractive to the opposite race, to females. And until recently, I've never had it about me to approach girls, which is part of my upbringing and my chastisement. So again, big up the recovery process, because I am back. So allegedly, in the 12th is one of the 12th house, one of my ex-girlfriends, who was just the most beautiful being. I mean, we were so perfectly opposed to each other, as life is an intelligent system. So then, throughout my experience, or maybe in the last 6 weeks, my ex-girlfriend keeps on turning up. be a program? I don't know. So anyway, moving on. I suppose we'll go back to the generation thing, hey? The generation. It's all about the DNA and spiral dynamics. If you haven't checked out spiral dynamics, you should really check that out on actualized.org. It's an amazing video. So short sticks, right? Who we find in organizations up and down the cosmos. The fucking short sticks. And I say that with love, right? I say that with love. In hierarchical structures, we have to be seen to be satiating the requirements and needs of all of those who sit above us. How would you say? I think the entry requirements to the upper echelons, heaven, as we'd like to refer to it, became quite sloppy post 1970. And if you knew people in the right place, you could get yourself in there. So the short sticks. Those people who hold on too tightly to the old story. Those who are too immobilized or scared to step into their own full Christed selves. Those who would rather give their power to another being and expect the second coming of Christ in, we are all one in the body of Christ. Outside of God, we are all Christed beings. So there's a huge amount of jealousy, I think, going on within the Palladian High Commission. I believe I've broken down enough. I've never felt this good. And by way of being in touch with my emotional body, I feel so blessed right now. Hey, just to be able to cry and to feel the pain of this world, as opposed to just facing addictions and pointing the fingers at others and not taking responsibility of our own creatorship. I feel so blessed. But it just keeps on going on and on. I think Molly's found herself in a place where she doesn't particularly want to be, doing things that she doesn't particularly want to do. So I guess the moral of the story is, when you know who you are, and you know what you came here to do, all that glitters isn't gold. So believe in yourself more than anything else around you. It is ultimately you. Just different versions. Twin flame story. I love you so much, Molly, and I am so looking forward to seeing you. When that will be, all in good time. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you've done through All to Love, which is just the most amazing gift I could have ever imagined. Thank you too for always believing in me. It's not your weight to carry, my love. I promise you it's not. Always welcome in Alpha Church. All of you are. So how would you summarize this video? Short sticks, man. Fucking short sticks. All you can do is love them, hey? And like the Tao teaches us, choose the course of least resistance. If people want to give you a hard time, bless them. And in fact, if they show rage and anger, just love them some more. Recognize them as being part of the one infinite creator. Just look at them with love. You don't have to defend anything. We are the great unseen. I guess that's a nice one to go out with, hey? So love tells me that I am everything, and wisdom tells me I am nothing. And thank you so much, my love, for this dance. I have been T-Red Sinclair. This is T-Trail, Nature's TV. If you've had any experiences of the recovery process, because I believe it is used by other star races other than Pleiadians, please put a comment down or get in touch. If you've got any questions about the awakening process, that's one I would like to say, right? So you agreed to this before you came. Really? I agreed to an organisation being formed from a place of fear to put me through my awakening process. I don't think I did. I don't think you have permission to do what you do. And as I thought before we came on here, love is the law, right? Which is effectively common law. So theft, fraud, harm, injury, I forget what the others are, but all of that stuff that says we are brothers and sisters. So before you come at me again, you seek permission. Capiche? Alright. So there you go. I think that's my little lot. Obviously big shout out to lowercase God, uppercase God, and the one infinite creator. So blessed. So blessed. So to all of those beings looking out for the transition of the new era, the age of Aquarius, being born here on planet Earth, thank you so much. And then to all of my other brothers and sisters who are going about what you do, thank you so much. And a big shout out to you, Mom. Bless you, my love. We'll see you on the next episode of T-Trail, Nature's TV. And I am now